What is going on, y'all? Jamie Shaw here, Absolute Basketball. Excited to be on here for our Sunday Night Live. Going on, we're going to talk about the 2021 classes in North Carolina and South Carolina. As y'all continue to go on, this is going to be archived. So for those coming on live, this will be archived too. Also, feel free to chat. This is going to be a Q&A as well. Once we get through the information that we're going to go through and stuff, we're going to have a Q&A throughout and during, as well as at the end too. I'll answer pertinent questions throughout the whole thing, and then there'll be a Q&A open up to an open forum at the end of the thing too as well. But if this is y'all's first time here tuning in, and you want to continue to hear more free, more great insight on film breakdown, more player interviews, all that type of stuff about the happenings of high school basketball into college basketball, exclusive interviews with college coaches and all that type of stuff, please subscribe to the channel. Also, too, go ahead and, watch some of these videos, hit the like buttons, comment on them and do all that stuff because that all helps within the rankings and stuff and get these people's stories out and everything. But before we jump into it, let's go ahead and go in. Let's go ahead and dive in head first. North Carolina's 2021 class. It's a very interesting class right now. So far, there are 15 guys who are committed Division I to play Division I basketball. 15 guys committed. There are 30 who have been offered Division I and are uncommitted so far, still deciding. And there are 8 others who have already been offered Division II. This is pretty, these are high numbers. That's what, 45, 53. That's 53 total players who have already been offered or committed to play college basketball. Looking back at 2020 was an incredibly deep class. Looking overall, the overall totality of it, 50 players committed to play Division I basketball in the 2020 class in North Carolina, while 32 committed to play Division II basketball. There were 28 who committed to play JUCO, 19 committed to play Division III basketball. 8 of them went to prep, and 3 of them committed to play football. Within the top 150 or so players in the state of North Carolina, that is 129 total players who are committed to play college basketball in the state of North Carolina, with 110 of those players signing scholarship papers in order to play basketball at the next level in the 2020 class in North Carolina. If you remember that class too, there were 2 very special cases as well with Josh Hall and Isaiah Todd. Isaiah Todd playing in the G League, Josh Hall entering the NBA draft as well. So you add that up on top. That's 131 players in North Carolina's 2020 class who went on to play college basketball at the next level, or they went on to the professional ranks. That's not even considering. That's not even counting the 8 who went to prep school and the 3, who committed to football, and the numerous ones who also reclassified and all that type of stuff too. That goes to show North Carolina is a hotbed for talent. It's pretty crazy. Went through some numbers too. Looking through it. As to in-state and out-of-state stuff as well. So, as we mentioned, Division I, there were 50 players who committed to play Division I basketball in the state last year. We look at it, there were 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 of those guys. 30 of them went to North Carolina-based schools, and 20 of them went to out-of-state schools. Switch that. So, of the 50 players who committed to play Division I basketball from the state of North Carolina last year, 30 of them went out of state, 20 of them went in state. That's about the average of where it's go, but it goes to show national schools are coming in from around the country, not all of them being high major. National schools are recruiting the state of North Carolina to come in and to get good players and to get winning players. 30 of them left the state to go play elsewhere, 20 of them stayed in state to do that. Looking toward the D2 ranks, there were 32 guys committed to play D2. Of those 32 guys, 21 of them, 23 of them, 23 of those guys stayed in state, whereas the other 9 went out of state for Division II. So, you see that. Obviously, Division I's have higher budgets. They're able to travel further, come back into the state and all that stuff. But in 2020, there were that many guys, and they're not afraid to leave the state. I think college coaches are identifying this as you look all the way around too. Even though that there are 18 Division I schools within the state of North Carolina, there are also 18 Division II schools in the state of North Carolina. Of the 18 Division I schools in the state of North Carolina, 20 players committed to stay in state, 30 of them went out of state. Moving on to South Carolina. In the 2020 class in the state of South Carolina, 15 players committed to play Division I basketball. There were 17 of them who committed to play Division II. 5 committed JUCO, 4 committed D3. 4 of them went prep, and 6 of them, obviously it's South Carolina, but 6 of them went on to play college football. If you look at those numbers, that's 41 total players who are playing in college, with 32 of those players signing scholarships. That's big numbers for such a small population of the state of South Carolina, with the national kind of reputation of the state of South Carolina being guys, it's a football state and all that type of stuff. Well, South Carolina per capita is turning into a basketball type of state. It's turning into a basketball type of community. As we said, we look at it, 15 committed Division I, 17 committed Division II, signing scholarship papers to play. And then there were even 4 of them who went out of state for Division III. There's only one Division III school in the state of South Carolina. All 4 of these guys in Division III went out of state to go play. So that's opening up an entirely new door for recruiting for schools coming into the state, that guys are willing to leave the state to go play Division III basketball as well. Looking at the South Carolina's 2021 class as it is, there are 10 players who are already committed to play Division I basketball. There are 9 players who are already offered Division I and remain uncommitted. And there are 7 of them who are already offered Division II basketball. 2 guys have reclassed. One of them's transferred, and then one of them, obviously, TJ Sanders, is committed to play football at the University of South Carolina as well. So breaking down those numbers, 26 players have already committed or have already received offers. 26 players in the state of South Carolina have already committed or received offers to play basketball. Obviously, these numbers are a little bit skewed because Division II schools don't necessarily get started on offering players until later in the process. They're still evaluating during this time and doing all that type of stuff on their players. They don't want to tip their hands. They play things a little bit more close to the vest when it comes to their recruitment and all that type of stuff of players. So looking overall, the totality of the classes, the Carolinas are an incredibly talent-rich area to be recruiting across the country. If you look at it in 2020, in the Carolinas together combined, there are 170 players in the 2020 class in the Carolinas alone that are playing in college, went on to play college basketball. And 142 of those players signed scholarship papers to play. So 170 that are currently playing in college from the 2020 class, with 142 of those players signing scholarship papers to play in the 2020 class in the Carolinas as a whole. Looking at 2021, 79 players in the Carolinas, North Carolina, South Carolina combined, 79 players have already received offers and or committed to schools at this point in time. That number is obviously going to continue to grow. The 2021 class is right in the middle of some uncertain times. There's been a whole lot of stuff in the 2020 class that's very unique. Last year, the NCAA really condensed the amount of views that they had, that colleges had with the schools and all that type of stuff. And we're going to jump into that right here in a second. But real quick, I want to let y'all know, make sure you check out the link. There's an exclusive pop-up with a collaboration between Absolute Basketball and New Balance Basketball. There's a gear store, a pop-up store that has been opened up that will only be open exclusively until August 31st. So make sure you check that link out. I'm going to figure out how to link this in the archived, in the comments of the archive, so the description and the archive of this video as well. So make sure that you guys check that out. The exclusive New Balance Basketball, Absolute Basketball, pop-up store. It's only stuff that's only going to be open until August 31st. Then after that, it's going to go away, and we'll go back to the drawing board with more stuff, more fun things that we're going to be putting out and all that type of stuff. But make sure you jump on the wave of Absolute Basketball, New Balance, and all that type of stuff too. But in looking at the overall totality of everything, you see that the Carolinas are a place that basketball talent is held. And things will continue to grow. The 2021 class, as we were talking about previously, is a little bit behind the 8 ball right now with in terms of recruiting. College coaches last year, if you remember, the NCAA condensed the live periods from 5 to 2. And so during that time when colleges were out, when they were on the road, when they were recruiting, they were watching the 2019 class. They were finishing up, or they were finishing up their 2020 classes and even 2019 classes in April. Some of them didn't even get out on the road because in the April period they were still hosting live, hosting recruits. They were still hosting visits and trying to lock players in. So some of them didn't even get out in the April period, leaving them with only one live period to go. And they did not look at the 2021 class last year. So here comes this year, and now they can't get out on the road at all because of the COVID pandemic. So the 2021 class has been really, really, really under-recruited. They haven't been seen like in classes previous. Even the 2020 class going into 2019 and all that type of stuff, they have not been seen in that manner too. So I tell you all that to say that even with, the 15 guys who are committed, I guess 25 total guys in the Carolinas who are committed, with the 39 offers that have already been given out to guys who are not committed yet and all that, even to say with all that happening, there's still a lot more to come within the Carolinas and, in the 2021 class, because there's a ton of players out there who just have not been seen yet. For whatever reason it may be it them playing off the beaten path, be it them playing, whatever the case may be it, just not being promoted, by the proper people, whatever the case may be. Between now and signing day in the 2021 class, you're going to see a ton more offers that are given out than the, 39 and 25, 64 offers that have already been handed out at the Division I level, and then 8 and 7, 15 offers that have been handed out at the Division II level. You're going to see a whole lot more than that are given out, trending upward toward, the 142 who have signed scholarship players out of the 2020 class. You're going to see a whole lot more trending toward that 79, trending toward that 142 in these two classes, because it's just talent rich. The 2021 class in South Carolina is deep. It's incredibly deep. Obviously it's big at the top with Ike Cornish. You have Bryce McGowan, Cesar Edwards, Josh Beadle, multiple high majors, Rob McRae, John Butler. All of them, already committed to play, high level basketball and stuff. So you have the talent at the top, but the depth of the talent going all the way down. I mean, you have guys like James Lovern, who just committed to play at Presbyterian, and all that. There's just a lot of talent. There's a depth of Division I talent in South Carolina, and then there's also a depth of Division II talent right now in this 2021 class in South Carolina. And then, the landscapes of the two states are completely different as well. So South Carolina, you have a lot of guys who stay at home with their public schools, with their home public schools and all that type of stuff. You have North Carolina, you have guys that transfer and reclass and all that type of stuff. Reclassing in South Carolina is not a thing. There's not a single player in the 2021 class right now that you look at, not a single one of them, not one who has reclassed. And if you look at it, there's a lot of guys. I'm from the state of South Carolina. I graduated at 17. You see a lot of guys in the state of South Carolina who graduate at the age of 17 years old or were very young, 18. I believe John Morant and Zion were both 17 years old when they graduated, or very young, 18. So that happens all over the landscape in the state of South Carolina. Whereas in North Carolina, you have a ton of guys that have reclassed. I mean, I haven't done the numbers in this, but if you look at the 2021 class, I would be remiss to sit there and say that at least half the guys have reclassified at some point in their careers in basketball and stuff. And you have guys in North Carolina who graduate more on the 18 to younger 19 age as well within the state. So they're two completely different things going for it there. North Carolina's obviously, top 10 in the population in the country of the population. South Carolina's not quite as big. All that type of stuff too. But South Carolina's coming around. It has traditionally been a football, baseball state. Basketball players are really coming out. I think you've seen a boom recently coming in with Zion Williamson, coming in with John Morant. I mean, obviously, you have, Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, Jermaine O'Neal, big time players who've come through prior, Chris Middleton and Ramon Sessions and Raymond Felton, and, the list goes on and on and on. But now recently, within the last maybe 5 to 10 years, there has been a huge boost of players coming through that's been kind of capitalized by the Zion and John Morant thing. You have guys like PJ Dozier, you have guys like Sedarius Thornwell, guys like Jawan Evans, guys like Nick Claxton, guys like Josiah James, soon to be Aaron Naismith, NBA players over the past 5 or so years who have come through the state of South Carolina, that was kind of put the cream on the top with Zion and Ja going number 1 and number 2 in the draft. Now all these kids coming through the state of South Carolina, all the kids coming up now are loving basketball. Guys that would typically be wide receivers or defensive ends or linebackers or cornerbacks or whatever the case on the football field Now they're actually playing basketball. They're getting a basketball in their hand and falling in love with the game. They're seeing how cool it is to be a basketball player. They're seeing the type of money you can make and the type of publicity that you can have. They're seeing guys who grew up like Zion and Marion and Spartanburg, or guys like Ja and Sumter. Seeing guys who grew up in the rural towns that they're from succeeding at the highest level, and they're using them on video games. They're playing them on video games. They're buying their jerseys. They're seeing commercials with those guys in it and all that type of stuff too. And they're saying, well, why not me? The commercial appeal for guys in the state of South Carolina, while you have probably the best cornerback in the NFL right now is from South Carolina when it comes to Stephon Gilmore. You don't really see him in a lot of commercials. You don't see him really doing a lot of things. You see him in the Pro Bowl and you hear his name and stuff, but the masks are on and all that type of stuff. You don't really see them a lot in the in the stuff. So now it's cool to be a basketball player now in the state of South Carolina. So I think you'll continue to see those numbers go up. From, like we said last year, 41 players that are playing college basketball last year. I think you'll continue to see that number rise as they continue to go throughout, and as you continue to see more success happen with these players coming from South Carolina. Now, moving on to North Carolina, it's a completely different story. Basketball, you don't reclass in the state of South Carolina. People stay at home with their local public schools in the state of South Carolina as well. North Carolina, not quite the same. North Carolina is a ton of reclass people, a ton of older kids that are playing. By comparison to the state that are playing it, and the landscape's just totally different. But also, it's a more densely populated state too. So both states are heavily recruited around the country as well. I think that you can go on and continue to say that the numbers. I haven't done the specific research as I did for the 2020 class when there were 30 of them that went out of state, 20 of them that stayed in state. I believe that you can go back class by class and see that there are a lot of players in the state of North Carolina who are willing to leave the state. Even the guys that are the highest level recruits. You have guys, Gary Clark at Cincinnati, who's now in the NBA. You have Jerome Robinson and Kyron Bowman, who are both now in the NBA, went to Boston College. The Martin twins obviously started at NC State, but ended up at Nevada. Both of them in the NBA. The list goes on and on. John Wall, former number one recruit to Kentucky. The list goes on and on and on of kids that are willing to leave the state. But also there's a great number of kids that are willing to stay in the state. There are 18 Division I programs in the state of North Carolina, 18 of them. And they all in their own right do a great job. They all in their own right recruit to where their strengths are. And there are players in the state of North Carolina that they fit in, they do, and they do it. So it's very neat. I haven't seen the total numbers here. Looking in the state of South Carolina, total number of colleges that are in the state of South Carolina, there's 12 Division I's, 14 Division IIs, 1 Division III, 6 NAIA, and 6 JUCOs in the state of South Carolina. Doing quickly the numbers here, 12 plus 14 plus 6. There are 32 schools in the state of South Carolina that give scholarship money out to play basketball at the next level. And then looking at North Carolina, that's 18, then 36, 54. There are 54 schools in the state of North Carolina, 54 schools, 18 Division I, 18 Division II, 18 JUCO, 18 Division I, 18 Division II, 18 JUCO schools in the state of North Carolina, 56 total schools who hand out scholarship money for guys to play basketball at the next level. Again, in South Carolina, that's 32 schools in the state of South Carolina who do the same thing. So that's 88 total schools in the Carolinas, 88 total schools in the Carolinas. That is probably, you can park your car anywhere and within 5 hours drive throughout the Carolinas from most places, and you can touch 88 schools that give out scholarship money for players to play. That's not even including the 11 Division III schools and 8 NAIA schools that are in the Carolinas as well. There are incredible opportunities for players. And we here at Absolute Basketball have been doing a recent thing. We here at Absolute Basketball have recently been putting out some content saying how to get recruited during a pandemic. And that's been a huge question mark throughout these whole times. Tomorrow we'll be putting out one that we did with Andre Gray, how to get recruited during a pandemic mid-major Division I edition. Last week we did it with Daniel Wallen at Catawba for the D2 edition. So we go in depth. We get about 20 minutes with Andre as to how he handles, how he would advise a prospect to handle getting seen when college coaches aren't able to see. They're not able to get out and go to events. They're not able to bring kids on campus and do things in the normal manner. So we go in depth with him as to what he would advise to be able to do. When there are a ton of teams that aren't even playing right now, sure, there are some teams that are out playing AAU events and they're being streamed and they're getting out there in front of the masses and everything. But a lot of teams aren't playing. There's a lot of kids that aren't playing. There's a lot of kids who can't consistently play right now because they don't want to get out in all the trouble and all that type of stuff too with the pandemic and sickness and unknown going on. So make sure you check that out. Last week was Daniel Wong of Catawba for the D2 edition. This week is Andre Gray coming out tomorrow morning for the mid-major Division I edition too to help out. So I see there are people online here. We're going to open this up to a Q&A. And see any questions. Obviously, anything's open right now. We don't have to ask about the 2021 classes for North Carolina or South Carolina or anything like that. But anything's open here. We'll start off. Let's see. Cam behind the cam. Brandon Gardner caught 2 bodies today. Nice. Let's see. Merck 252. Lane Mabry. East Carolina is the rural looked over part of the state, but it was late putting out the most pro talent. Yeah, Eastern North Carolina. It depends on where you start Eastern North Carolina at. I would have to assume that probably Raleigh. I don't know if you're cutting it into Eastern, Central, and Western, or just East and West. If it's Eastern North Carolina cutting off from Greensboro East, obviously the talent coming through with John Wall, TJ. TJ Warren, Montrezl Harrell, Bam Adebayo, Kadeem Allen, Dennis Smith, all that type of stuff. So, from Greensboro over, even I guess Harry Giles falls in the Greensboro mix too, as well. So yeah, there's a ton that go on to the eastern part. I guess Winston-Salem, Charlotte, Asheville counts as the western part. So Eastern North Carolina for Merck 252 is just the 252. Okay, no, that's totally understandable as well. When you come from that type of talent, I guess Kobe White, while he played in Wilson, he says he's from the 919. So that would be like Montrezl Harrell, Bam Adebayo. Both those guys are from the 252. There's talent all over the state of North Carolina. The 910 has guys in the NBA right now. When you look at Dennis, when you look at Kadeem Allen, CJ Williams, I'm not sure if he's on contract right now or something. Looking up at the 252, you have the likes of Brandon Ingram, you have the likes of Reggie Bullock. Let's see who else is up that way from the 252. Montrez and Bam, as we said before. Tons of talent up there in the 252 that are in the NBA right now. You got the 919, obviously the Raleigh Durham areas. With John Wall's in the NBA, you got TJ Warren in the NBA, you got Kobe White, you got Jerome. I'm not sure, looking at Kai Bowman, I'm not sure where Havelock is. I'm not sure if Havelock's 252 or 910, but he's an Eastern North Carolina guy who's also in the eastern part. And there you go. You just said Kai Bowman right here as well. I'm not sure Havelock 910 or 252, but it's Eastern North Carolina as well. Gary Clark's another 910 or 919 guy. You have Chris Clemens, another 919 guy. So there's a ton of talent in the NBA right now from the 919 as well. Moving over to Greensboro, you got Harry, Theo Pinson. Not sure if there's anybody else other than Harry, Theo Pinson right now. Then you got Charlotte. Obviously, Patrick Williams is about to get drafted down that way. Tons of other talent as well. Not sure if there's anybody from the Mountain region right now in the NBA. Maybe the Plumleys. I don't know if you count that. They were at a boarding school in North Carolina, but they claim Indiana as home. So, there's talent from every area code, every region in the state of North Carolina in the NBA right now. And it's awesome to see. It's awesome to watch them thrive in their own way. I mean, you look through the bubble, not a single game goes through. You don't see a guy from the Carolinas, because also too, South Carolina's got a lot of guys in the NBA right now as well. Yes, if you played high school in North Carolina, I think you count it. Yeah, no, there's that too. And then you have the guys who kind of left the state and didn't graduate from there. Um, WJG Sports, where do you think Dunn is going? If I had to, if I had to lay a wager on everything right now, I think Dunn's going to UNC. But I would not count out Vanderbilt at this point in time as well. I know Arizona and Texas are working hard with them. Georgia's, I just talked to him the other day. Obviously, a good portion of that was on the record. We also had a great talk off the record as well, too. So I'm not going to divulge, all the stuff with that. But I think Georgia, Clemson was in there early. They built a good relationship foundation with them. Georgia, John Linehan's done a great job building that relationship as well there. But I think there's a clear four at the top when it comes to Vanderbilt, UNC, Texas, Arizona. And I would, put UNC the leader in the clubhouse right now, but I would not sleep on Vanderbilt making a push there. You don't hear a lot about them too. Very interesting fact to go on with that too is you got DeMarco Dunn and Lucas Taylor, AAU teammates. There is a common school with them, with Vanderbilt as well. They are very good friends, and a lot of interesting stuff there. So, but yes, again, yes, Stackhouse connection, exactly. And Stackhouse does his work. He's good at what he does on the recruiting trail, especially within the state of North Carolina, especially in the eastern part of North Carolina. But yeah, open it up to any more questions as well. Thoughts on Dre Watson choosing East Carolina? I think that's a good get for East Carolina. I think that's the type of guy that East Carolina needs to get. Johnny, Dre is very athletic, and he plays with a chip on his shoulder. He plays with a mean streak to him. And those type of guys at 6'8" or so, you can live with them being rough around the edges when it comes to the skill set. You can live with them being rough around the edges when it comes to, the sexier parts of the game, because they play so hard and they play with such a chip and they play so mean and all that type of stuff, that they're going to get out there and produce. Another Eastern North Carolina guy who's kind of in that same mold, maybe even more so than Dre, is Derico Williams, who's at UNCG now. Obviously, Montrezl Harrell, who's in the NBA playing in the bubble right now. That seems to be a trait out that way. But in looking at Dre Watson, he's a big athletic guy that is going to find his way onto the floor, provided everything works out. He's going to find his way onto the floor with his hard work, with his athleticism. And to have that type of canvas to paint on, to have that type of natural canvas to paint on, I feel like they are going to, find that. Thoughts on the Elijah Jameson reclassifying? I think that it's a good move. I think that Greensboro Day kind of set the pace in the state of North Carolina when it came to that. And what I mean by that is reclassifying back to give yourself options. So you reclassify back, let's say in Elijah Jameson's case specifically, he reclassifies back to 2022, but he still stays on pace to graduate in 2021. Then he gets to play throughout a season. And if he has an offer that he likes to come out in 2021, he can take it. He can go there. He can still graduate on time. He can still take that offer and all that type of stuff. If not, then he can spend that entire final year, that entire 2022 year, hunting that offer or working toward that offer. Having already enough credits to graduate, he could take a study hall in a weightlifting class or whatever the case may be, work on his SAT prep or whatever it is that he does during that time frame, and really focus on basketball and really focus on finding that finding that offer. So I think that's what it's all about, specifically in Elijah Jameson's case, is giving himself an option to be able to either to come out if he's happy with what he has right now, but also to be able to parlay that forward and play an entirely, senior season to work toward getting that offer that he likes. Because at this point in time right now, for the 2021 class, it's not a guaranteed thing to get an offer. It's not guaranteed, that it's going to come out. And even Elijah Jameson, who's going to end up probably being one of the top 20 scorers in the state of North Carolina history, It's not guaranteed the fact that he'll come out that he'll get that because of limited viewing times by the coaches, because of last year's NCAA coming down, and then also too the limited viewings they've had with the COVID and quarantine and all that type of stuff. Excuse me, all that type of stuff as well. And then so it's not a guaranteed thing that he'll get seen and that he'll get an offer. So this right here gives him options in case he does, in case a school comes in that he falls in love with, and when he's able to get back out and visit and go visit a campus and fall in love with that, because we don't even know if they're going to open stuff back up and be able to see campuses. We don't even know if we'll be able to open up and see before signing period if kids are going to be able to get out and go on real visits where you're able to stand in the middle of the quad and take in the sights and take in the feelings and the scenes and stuff. I was talking to a coach earlier today where they stress heavily on their recruits. Please come by campus. We're not allowed to contact you. We're not allowed to be in contact, but come by campus and get a feel for it. Be able to see. I know you. I don't know if this is Kai or Leica that's talking here at WJG, but I know y'all both went to ECU. I know there's a completely different feel going to ECU and standing there in the middle of campus and getting a buzz of all the happenings and walking through the buildings and stuff than there is sitting in front of a Zoom call like this and just being shown the best of the best. You get to see the prettiest corners of the best buildings and stuff on a Zoom call. Whereas if you're there, you get a little more indoctrinated with what it is. So there's an opportunity, there's a chance that kids aren't going to be open to go on visits right now at all for the 2020 class before the signing period. So again, that's a really long-winded way to answer your question that 2022, that gives options. Reclassifying has made the 2022 class really jumbled. And was there something after "and" there? Really jumbled. Yeah. No, it's made things pretty interesting. 2022, not only reclassifying, but transfers in the 2022 class as well, has made things really, really interesting too, to see how it all plays out, to see where everybody goes and how things happen. Too, because obviously the top three guys in the class, I think they were consensus top three guys, all of them ranked in the top 40 in the country, with Jalen Hood-Schifino going to Montverde. You have Jaden Bradley going to IMG, and then MJ Rice making it out to Oak Hill. They all transferred out. So now it's going to be a race to see who's at the top. I mean, and two, you have guys who came in too. So guys left, but guys also came in. I mean, you have guys like the Christ kid who just committed to, or just transferred to Winston-Salem Christian. By all accounts, he's going to be a stud, in the class too. So, guys go out, but guys came back in too. So yes, all that to say, reclassifying and transfers in the state of North Carolina for 2022 will make things super interesting. So we got anything else here? Kind of winding down. I see. Had a great conversation there. Anything else before we wrap up? Anything final? Good deal, guys. Well, thank you all so much, everybody, for joining in. Again, if you jumped in on the back end of this, I'm going to archive it right when we end it here. Let's see. So Cam, I saw the first comment, Brandon Gardner. That's awesome. That's awesome. Excited to see it. Everybody, make sure you check out Cam, Behind the Cam YouTube page. He's a YouTuber as well. WJG Sports on here as well. Make sure y'all check both of them out. Want to shout them out, not only for their support, but also they do great work as well. Good people and stuff. So make sure y'all check them out. Let's see. You think all the 2023 classes helps 2021s get bigger offers? They might not have been on the table before. No, I don't think that plays a role in it at all. I think the 2021s will get, once basketball gets played, I think the 2021s will get moved to the back burner a little bit when it comes to the recruiting class, because the college coaches are going to be looking at transfers. The college coaches are going to be looking at JUCOs. They're going to be looking at that type of stuff. And then the elite top level. So I guess how they tier it in recruiting, you have, your top tier kids, and you have your secondary kids if you don't get your top tier, and you have all that type of stuff as well. They're going to go after the top tier high school kids, which typically, let's say if you're a mid-major program, they're mostly mid-plus to high major kids. If you're a low major program, they're mostly low plus to high, to mid-major kids. They're guys who will be immediate impact guys at your level. Obviously, guys that you need to win. If you're a low major school, you need to recruit at the mid major level to win. If you're a mid major school, you need to recruit at the high major level. If you're a high major program, you need to recruit at the professional level in order to win your league, win ball games, and all that type of stuff. So those top tier guys, they're not going to get hurt, but it's going to be the second tier guys. It's going to be the guys after you miss out on those top tier that you love. Those guys are going to be the ones, which is where most of the people lie. A lot of dudes in the state of North Carolina, as we said last year, what was it, 50 players committed to Division I. A lot of those guys laid in the second tier of their level of classes and all that type of stuff too. So no, I do not think that them moving to 2022 will help 2021s get bigger offers or whatever the case may be. I think that everybody in the 2021 class is kind of cut behind the 8 ball at this point in time, especially once they get started going back. As you saw, there's a JUCO event this past weekend in Atlanta. Those are going to continue to happen. Everybody wants, all college coaches, no matter who you talk to, obviously they want to get more talented, but a lot of them feel that the way to get more talented is get older. They want to recruit older, especially at the low to mid-major level and all that type of stuff as well. They want to get older. And, you're able to get your hands on some high school kids. You can groom them within your system. You can teach them basketball your way. You can put them in your weight program. You can put them in your training program. You can put them in your nutrition program, and you can develop them as you see fit. But there's more true tape on transfers. You're able to get more synergy film. You're able to get more, you get a guy coming in who knows more about the landscape as to how to succeed at the collegiate level. You get a guy who's been through it before. You get a guy who knows how to jumble college classes along with practice schedules and keeping your body right, all that type of stuff. So the learning curve is a whole lot less. You know more of what you're getting within a transfer, and a lot of times too with the JUCO person as well, as opposed to the high school kid. Again, sorry if this is Kai or Leica, whichever one. A long-winded answer again to sit there and say I don't think that it has any bearing at all. The 2022 reclasses helping 2021 players. Moving down, Deuce Digital, should 2021 kids reclass to 2020 and report to their colleges and redshirt? That's a great question. That's an absolute option that a lot of people are doing these days. As you can see, they're absolutely doing that, and that helps them in a lot of ways. There's a lot of positives that actually come from that. If a school is willing to take you in 2020 to round out a class, there's a lot of positives in doing that. You get to get on college. You get to learn how to be a student. You get to get into the rhythm of things, because even like myself, for example, I was not an athlete in college, so there was an adjustment period for me coming out of high school, going to college, just learning how to be a college student. And that happens with everybody. So that helps them, that will help them in doing it. Caleb Mills did this at Houston this past year. He graduated early and went in December to Houston last, I guess it was 2 years ago now. And he was able to get in the flow of things in college. He was able to live the college life, but while also still preparing. So he was able to get understanding of the playbook. He was able to get understanding as to how to lift as a collegiate athlete, how to work out. He was understanding as to how to eat properly and all that type of stuff. And I'm sure the college coaches like that as well, because they got to teach him. They got to have them under their wing almost with no pressure, because he's not going on the court and winning or losing ball games, but he's learning, he's developing, he's getting there. When he does get on the court and it is his time and his 4-year clock starts, he's more prepared and ready to help win ball games. So I'm sure that college coaches really would appreciate that if they would take it. But also too, Deuce Digital, that's a very intriguing question as well. But then also too, you have to ask the question, is the kid willing to sit for a year? Because, there's nothing like competing. There's nothing like stepping onto the court and playing and competing, and going at somebody and talking that trash and having your, failures and successes documented and winning with the guys and all that stuff. There's nothing like that too. And having to sit out for a year while on the outside of things, there's a lot of positives come with it too. There's a lot of stuff that you give up with that as well. That high and everything too. Also too, graduating early, you don't get to go to your high school prom. You don't get to, enjoy your senior season. All that type of stuff comes into it as well. As for me, Deuce Digital, to answer that question, I don't have an answer. So long-winded way to sit there and say that there are some very real positives for it, and there are some very real positives for staying around in your normal class and doing that as well. So I don't think there's a right or wrong answer in that. WJG, yes, absolutely, more prominent in football than it is in basketball as well. Football recruiting and basketball recruiting are two completely different things, completely different animals, as well, even going into baseball recruiting too. We'll be interested to see if the North Carolina public school season gets canceled or postponed in December, if guys forego it and go early. It'll be interesting to see how all that stuff happens. I know, even now with them only having the 14 game scheduled, the talk of transfers, I know there's been a lot of schools coming in, prep schools, trying to get kids to transfer and do all that stuff too. It's going to be interesting to see the transfer rate. It's going to be interesting to see if guys enroll early in schools. It's going to be interesting to see how all that type of stuff happens. This is like WJG sports. This is a time. This is an unknown time right now. There are a lot of things going on that there's a lot of things going on that we don't know what's going to happen. So there's no precedent. There's no precedent set as to what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, all that type of stuff too. So as you just said, it'll be interesting to see. I think that we're all in a place to sit there and sit back and watch how it all manifests, because I'm sure there are people behind the scenes that are pushing their agendas. I'm sure the college coaches would love to get the kids on school early. I'm sure the high school coaches that, at their local public schools want the kids to stay there so they can stay under their wing. I'm sure that the private schools want the kids to transfer there and all that type of stuff. So, there are people coming at this from completely different angles with completely different agendas. All of them, none of them being illegitimate agendas, all of them being, obviously they're all self-serving, but they're obviously all with good intentions behind them. And it'll just be interesting to see as to who catches the ear of the player. It'll be interesting to see as to who has the pull of it and all that type of stuff as well. It's an unprecedented time, just as you said. I think we all, I don't want to say the luxury, but we all have the ability to sit back and kind of see who does what and who goes where, and how it all plays out. Cam, Luka thoughts, killer, absolute killer. I don't know why anybody is surprised or anybody is not. I had a talk about this earlier, right after he had that 40-point triple double in a game winner. He has been a stud at every level he's been at, be it signing a pro contract super early, be it the EuroLeague MVP at 19 years old, be it an MVP candidate maybe even as a second year in the league right now. I don't know why people are surprised by what Luka's doing. He's a generational type of talent, and I think that's easy to be seen. Now, is he the best player in the league? No, he's not. But he's young. I mean, he's top 10 in the league for sure. He's somebody who can absolutely go in and carry a team. He himself can go in, and he's got the type of talent to go in and win a playoff game or win a playoff series. With what he has and the fact that he's only 21 years old, you could tell the jovial approach that he has to the game. I think I saw an interview with Seth Curry, Steph Curry's little brother, who's a teammate of his, that he compared Luka to Steph. Now, when he did that, he wasn't doing it by their game. He wasn't doing that by how they played. What he was doing was he's comparing to their love of the game, how they were almost like a little kid in a candy store every time they stepped on the floor. And you can see that. You could see that with Luka. You can see how much he loves the game and how much he's learning and enjoying it and just really appreciating the moment of where he's at. And you do all that on top of the fact that he's an absolute killer on the floor. I think we saw that today. This entire season, the Dallas Mavs, offensive efficiently, they set the record in the history of basketball for the best offensively efficient team in the history of basketball this year. Obviously, that was led behind Luka as he was, usage rate within the league was, I would have to assume, in the top 2 or 3 usage rate in the league, mainly running everything through him. They were the most proficient offense in the history of basketball this season. And in a roster with two guys who are considered talented. You have, Luka, who's a a perennial All-Star every year, and you have Kristaps who will make multiple All-Star games most likely within his career too, and then a whole bunch of other guys that are good players. Nothing that you're going to sit there and write home about, but really good players that fit into to a stud, and then a very good player as well. But mainly it was Luka that did that. So my thoughts on Luka, Cam, are the fact that Luka is really, really good at basketball. He should be considered a top 10 player in the league as a baseline. And then the conversation starts there as to how high you want him to go. Now, when it comes to that, there's no right or wrong answer. It depends on how you view things and what you appreciate more in basketball. Is Luka better than Damian Lillard? Is Luka better than Chris Paul? Is Luka better than Russell Westbrook? Is Luka better than James Harden? Those are all conversations people can have, and I'm sure that there are some people who believe that they are, and I'm sure there are some people who believe that he isn't. But those are all conversations to be able to be had, and that's what makes all of this fun, is that everybody's point of view is completely different. It's coming from a completely different line of sight. Completely different value system, completely different what you look at and all that type of stuff too. So that's what makes all this stuff exciting and to listen to. But yes, Luka, baseline top 10 guy in the league, and then the conversation starts there. Ryan, what's up, man? You doing all right? Good to see. I'll tell Harper you said hey when she wakes up in the morning. She's asleep right now. So we've been going here for 45 minutes, guys. Wanted to see, is there anything else? Stay on for a couple more questions if we haven't. If not, we can go ahead and lock up right now. Okay, good deal. I'll go ahead and start signing off. If you have anything, still go ahead and ask it, and I'll answer it. But thank you all very much for tuning in, guys. We're going to try to do this every Sunday night, 9 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., somewhere around there. I'll start advertising it throughout the day on my social media stuff. Make sure you check out my Twitter at JamieShaw5, JamieShaw5. Make sure you check out my Instagram at Jamie_Shaw5. That's JAMIE_Shaw5 on Instagram. Make sure you continue to check those out, follow it, all that type of stuff as well. Also, guys, as I mentioned before, we have an exclusive pop-up store going with New Balance basketball, Absolute Basketball collaboration. Their items will be on until August the 31st. This was only a 10-day sneak peek. Make sure y'all check that out. It's all over my social media and stuff as well. And after I archive this, I will put it in the description below the link. So make sure that you guys check that out. There's some great stuff to be had that's out there. Some awesome items, Absolute Basketball and New Balance. And if this is your first time here, your first time seeing it, all that type of stuff, please subscribe to the channel if you want to continue to hear more live stream Q&As. We'll have more, exclusive interviews with college coaches, interviews with elite high school prospects. We'll have, mixtapes and highlights and all that type of stuff moving forward. Please subscribe. Please go ahead and like the videos and comment below. Let us know what you think. If you have further questions as well, don't hesitate. So again, we're going to try to do this every Sunday night. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Very much appreciate everything too. Please, I gave my social media stuff out before. Please DM me. Let me know if you have any questions, if you have any topics that you would like for me to cover next week and all that type of stuff. I will be going to probably 3 or 4 different events this week on into the weekend as well. So I'll be able to come back through and recount all of that for you guys as well next weekend. So this week I gave my wife the weekend off here. I watched my little girl this weekend. Very excited to have done that. We had a great weekend and all that type of stuff. She got to get a little vacation in and have fun too. All the weekends that I've been out on the road doing all that type of stuff too. Let her catch her breath as well. So she's an amazing woman. Does a great job too. Very blessed. But thank you guys very much. Absolute Basketball, Jamie Shaw. We'll see you next time.